Jimmy, what are you doing? I've been looking for you everywhere. We've got a bunch of horses to ride. What? I don't understand what you're saying.
I said, I'm freezing, I'm bored, and I don't want to do anything.
Okay, well, why don't we show everybody some things that'll hopefully keep us busy and warm during these cold months. G'day, welcome to Evention. With winter approaching and the temperatures dropping, today we're going to give you a couple of tips and reminders for things to do around the barn, as well as some simple exercises to keep you amused in the indoor. Let's get started.
All right, guys. During the winter months, most of you will give your horse a holiday or at least be doing less strenuous work. So one thing to consider is your feeding program and what your horse is eating. Most horses don't need to be eating as much when they're doing less strenuous work as when they're in full work. So take this time to consider what your horse is eating and reevaluate your feed program. Now let's head to a SRAMO shout out.
Today's shout out goes to Heaven Can Wait Equine Rescue, located in Cameron in Ontario, Canada. It was started in 1997 by Claire Malcolm, and they take in unwanted horses and ponies from slaughter or just to find them a new loving home. Check them out here. Back to the action. All right, guys, welcome back. I've got an interesting exercise for you here that you could set up in the indoor. We're setting it up in the outdoor today for the sake of the light, but I call this my diamond exercise. Basically, you start with a jump that's sort of on the center line, probably about 20 meters or 60 feet from the nearest short side, so you have room to turn. And then instead of having your typical 9-foot canter and landing poles parallel with the jump, we're actually turning them on an angle. So to measure them, you get to the center of your little cross or vertical and you sort of walk 45 degrees as opposed to 90 degrees. 9 feet, which is 3 steps, and you plonk a pole here. You do the same thing on all 4 sides, and then if you take a little step back, make sure that they're all lined up, and what you'll have is a little bit of more of an angled line. Now the exercise works by kind of riding it on a figure of 8, and it tests your turning as well as your ability to get new canter leads each direction when you change. So for example, we would come in canter off the right lead, jump over this jump, and then as we do that, open the left lead and try and get the left canter. And the poles kind of promote the horse to be gymnastic and bounce. Then we would do a turn around the short side in left canter until we found a really good line this way. Line it up. As we jump through, then we open the right hand and try and get the right canter lead. So it's gymnastic, it's got a lot of turning, it's easy to do in a confined or narrow space, but it keeps things a little bit more interesting for the horses. But if you want to make this exercise a little bit more interesting, you can do that by adding in a second square. Now instead of just doing the one, you're joining the 2 of them together. I would have the jumps about 20 meters or 60 feet spread apart, so it's easy enough to make the turns from jump to jump. Good luck with this exercise, it's fun.
All right, one problem we all seem to have is before we clip our horses, they have this really long fuzzy coat and we can't get the dust off. So I'm going to show you a quick tip on how to do this. So basically after you've done all your brushing and all of your currying and that dust is still on top, you get your rag in either Show Sheen or a Cowboy Magic spray and you just spray it on the rag a little bit, not on the horse but on the rag. And then all you're going to do is just wipe down over the horse, and this helps pick up all that excess dust that was left over. This is just a good way to keep your horse clean through the winter, especially if you're going to a show or you're showing it off somewhere or going hunting or something. All right, now on to Dom for some more tips.
If you haven't done so already, it might be a good idea to take a look at the state of your batteries. If they seem to be cranking a little bit slower since the weather's got cold, it might be a good thing to replace them. Or if they're working just fine, pop the hood of your truck and just take a look. Somewhere on the battery there'll be a date printed, either on a sticker. If they're a couple years old, same thing. You might want to think about replacing them, just because a really cold morning might be what finally kills it, which happened to me with my truck just the other day. While you're at it, check the oil as well as the air pressure in your tyres as they drop a good bit in the cold weather. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in this week. Hopefully you got a couple of useful tips or reminders. Remember to follow us on Twitter. We're currently working on a special presentation. Stay tuned next week to find out what it is. Peace!